What's up, everybody? It's the Hardy Construction. You can find us at hardyconstruction.com, youtube.com/hardyconstruction, facebook.com/the Hardy Construction with your host Comp, and
Purple Panty Party.
And today's film is
Hardware, 1990.
Hardware is a 1990 film directed by Richard Stanley, starring Dylan McDermott, Stacey Travis, and John Lynch. The head of a cyborg reactivates and rebuilds itself and goes on a violent rampage in a space marine's girlfriend's apartment. It is based on a short comic book called...
Is it called Hardware?
Called Drock or Zoc or something like that, from 2000 AD. Guess which universe this comic exists in?
I don't know. Which universe?
The Judge Dredd universe.
Oh, really?
This comic is based on a comic book from way back when. 2000 AD, it's called Shock, sorry. This is from the trivia for Hardware on the IMDb page. Shock is the short story from the British magazine 2000 AD, which is where Judge Dredd exists.
I feel like this world is a lot more destroyed than Judge Dredd world.
You think it's a little bit more orderly in Judge Dredd?
Well, I mean, there's like cities and shit in Judge Dredd.
But
this
then again,
is just like
2000 AD is a bit of an anthology comic book, so it might be,
because this seems like Judge Dredd after the nuclear war, maybe, or something.
This might be like an area outside of Mega City 1.
That's true. Yeah. Oh, like where they banish people or something. Yeah.
And the comic is very different in a way because you can actually find the comic online if you just on 2000ad.com. In the comic book, it's the guy buys. It's basically the same premise where he buys a robot head for his girlfriend, and then the robot tries to attack and kill his girlfriend. But it's bizarre. She destroys it, and at the end, he goes back home. He doesn't know anything about it. He goes back home. And he goes, "Hey, honey, what's going on?" And then she turns around, and she's the robot. I don't know.
The robot is becoming people now.
Anyway, what made you see this film? Was it because it's on Netflix or something, or what made you choose this?
Well, I part of why I chose it was because it was on Netflix, but I've seen this as a kid. My dad used to have it on tape, so I used to watch it a lot as a kid. I don't think I really understood it as a kid, maybe, but I remembered it, so, yeah.
What's strange is that for some reason, I've seen parts of it. I never saw the full film for some reason. I just know I was aware of it, but I don't know why it came to that.
Right.
I don't know what, what I mean? Because immediately when I was watching it, it reminded me of this movie that I saw recently called Automata, which is a science fiction film starring Puss in Boots. What's that guy? Desperado. Antonio Banderas.
Yeah.
And Automata it's a pretty cool, sleek science fiction film about. Well, it's the same fucking story as every science fiction movie where a robot, the AI is.
The AI's gone bad.
Not necessarily bad, but it realizes it's alive. It's one of those type of films.
Johnny Five alive.
It's not as fun as that. There's no Indian American doctor running around.
Does he have a mohawk made out of nails?
It's a cool movie, Automata. Check it out with Antonio Banderas. Anyway, so this film Hardware is a sort of cyberpunk / I guess cyberpunk, right? It's not steampunk.
Well, no, it's not steampunk. I don't know these stupid. I know what steampunk means, but I don't think it's. I guess it's cyberpunk, although it doesn't really have much digital sort of stuff.
And I did remember it had. I remember he's like, was there a robot in a bathroom? I remember just thinking that. I was like, there's a robot in a bathroom. That specifically is what I thought about. And I was like, there's some sort of television star in this movie, like somebody that I recognize. And then I was like watching it. I was like, yeah, Dylan McDermott. Dylan McDermott's in this. Dylan McDermott
Is he Moses? Is he Hard Moses?
He's Moses. Yeah, he was in American Horror Story the first season, Murder House. He's one of those handsome actors that he's good in everything, but he's not, I guess, marquee ready.
Yeah, I don't actually recognize him. Like, I'm trying to think, but okay.
You've probably seen him and stuff and just not recognized. I think he is a film.
I felt like I knew Jill. I felt like I knew Jill like really bad, but I couldn't figure out.
Jill, to me, when I looked at her, I was like, who does she look like?
She looks like that actress that's in Zombieland, like an older version of her.
Yeah, Emma Stone. She looks exactly like Emma Stone, who was Gwen Stacy in the Amazing Spider-Man films.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Hardware is this definitely hardcore cyberpunk film. It's one of those movies. Initially, when I was watching this film, I was like falling in love with how the movie is. Apparently, until after I saw the movie, I didn't realize it has such a low rating, and a lot of people hated this film.
Yeah,
I understand why. I don't agree with it.
I can understand why, and I kind of agree. But at the other hand, it looks so good. That's the problem. It's the script sucks, but the movie looks amazing. They should have gotten a better script.
To me, this film, I had the same issue with this film that I had with Alien, and to explain that is that the world building is so great, and then it just becomes some sort of generic slasher film at the end, and you're like, oh, I would have rather watched, a complete film in this world,
Yeah.
But apparently they must have run out of budget midway or something, because it's basically a killer robot film, but it takes place in somebody's apartment at the end. An apartment it's not a huge apartment. It's literally 3 rooms in this film.
Yeah,
and that's and listen, I think Alien is a great film, but I love Alien for the first.
Well, I think Alien is way better than this movie, honestly, like story-wise.
Well, obviously, yeah, right. No, it's just so much better. But the world building in that felt organic and felt real. It felt like when you're watching Alien and you see Ripley and her cohorts walking around in their ship.
Yeah,
and they're just from the opening where their pods open, and they're just sort of having this day-to-day life, and even up to the discovery of the eggs on that planet and the space marine or whatever the fuck they found. It was just like there was a story behind it. It's almost like the Fifth Element. You know how the Fifth Element, it's story building and world building.
I love that movie.
There's little things going on in the background that doesn't even necessarily need to be there.
Yeah, right.
There just to
Well, also Alien has about 10 times the budget of hardware.
Of course, yeah, and it's the same thing with Star Wars or any film that actually likes to not have it, since it's not in this reality that we have where you just kind of go day to day living life, and they try to tweak science fiction or any type of fantasy world that it's so dense that you're like, wow, I can imagine this world being realistic. So hardware, what kind of world is hardware taking?
It feels like they're on like fucking Mars or something. Everything's like red and
they do talk about space travel, so people are able to leave the planet. So apparently, I guess
well, they have to because their Earth is destroyed. It's basically like a radioactive wasteland after it was like a nuclear war or something.
Yeah, the movie does start out with this kind of let me see. Carl McCoy, who plays a nomad. I think Carl McCoy he's a musician.
He's a really cool-looking nomad too.
He is. There's a lot of cool cameos from musicians in this film. I guess because the director, I think, was a music video director.
Okay.
And I guess the guy Carl McCoy was in a band called Fields of Nephilim, which is, I guess, a rock band from back in the day.
Okay.
You can see a lot of people. Okay, so the nomad who unearths the Mark 13 robot is played by Carl McCoy, lead singer of the goth rock band Fields of Nephilim. So Richard Stanley directed the video, so he wanted him in there. And there's like Lemmy from Motorhead, and it's such like obvious, really obvious cameos because he's like Lemmy's a cab. What is he? He's a cab driver, right? Like a water taxi driver. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Hey, this is a great song." And then they start playing Ace of Spades, and I was like, "Oh Jesus, how obvious is that?" That
was their whole budget.
Iggy Pop is playing a radio DJ, and Iggy Pop is about as good at acting as he is in Crow, the sequel to The Crow, whatever the hell the sequel.
I never saw that actually.
Yeah, so he's a bad actor in that, and he's a bad actor in this. Like, I don't know how you can really fuck up playing a radio DJ, but he's not awful. But it's like a guy doing like a weird version of somebody's voice. He's just like, "Hey, I'm a DJ."
It's very over the top.
Yeah, but not like good over the top. It's not like Jim Carrey over the top.
I didn't realize that was his character.
What, Lemmy? I mean, Iggy Pop?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're all about as good as any singer is, I guess. But anyway, it's an interesting film. So the film starts out with a nomad digging, and it's like that guy's like a good actor, I guess. Whoever was playing the nomad.
Well, he doesn't really have to do much, but he looks awesome.
Yeah, and he has an English accent. Whenever you're an English actor, an English person with an English accent, obviously you don't have to act that bad, I guess.
Yeah, right? You just automatically... It's like when you're a bad cook and you add garlic to cover how bad it is, and it just tastes delicious. They could just use their accent to cover their bad acting. So
he's this sort of... he looks like some sort of wandering samurai. The costume designs are fantastic. Like... This is exactly how, if you've ever read Heavy Metal, the graphic novel sort of anthology comic books that come out, I believe they're still being made. Kevin Eastman, the guy who co-created the Ninja Turtles, prints them out, and you can find them at like Barnes and Noble and stuff like that. But
it's got this kind of feeling.
Yeah, heavy metal. This is certainly European. This kind of world that's built is very European-centric sort of comic book. I think Franco Italiano. I forget what the phrase is, but they have this sort of European comic style where it's just like science fiction. It's exactly how Judge Dredd the comic books are. See, because if
we ever have a nuclear war, I should go to Europe.
There's also stuff like Blade Runner. So you see how the world of Blade Runner
I love Blade Runner. Yeah, no, it's got that fucking feeling to it. Gritty.
How the world of Blade Runner is, it feels like you can walk and be in that area. Yeah. And then you take that and you do the different version. The American version of Blade Runner, I'm sorry, I guess, is like Demolition Man, a movie I love. Don't get me wrong, I fucking love Demolition Man with Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes.
That's a fun movie, actually.
That's about that's like about as American, but you know what it is, like, that's self-aware. Do you know what I mean? It's like with jokes for Americans. While this is more of a
Taco Bell. Taco Bell is the big restaurant.
Right, there's references to Arnold Schwarzenegger being president. So American science fiction relies heavily on, American ideals. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but you can't really get lost because every other second they're winking at, something in pop culture. The only one that I don't think had that was Minority Report, which I liked a lot. But there was, like, kind of flaws in that movie with the world building itself. It was sort of like... There's something wrong with the plotting.
Where Tom Cruise is jumping on a couch at one point.
Yeah, but that whole film was like, they'll arrest you. The whole plot of... Let me just, for 1 second, my gripe with Minority Report. Like, Tom Cruise's character was going to get arrested for a crime of killing a guy. But the guy obviously kills himself. So why the fuck would Tom Cruise be arrested? And why would people who were...
because Scientology is illegal in that world.
You see John Travolta come out of a blue portal and goes, "Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it." Anyway, so this film has a very heavy cyberpunk look, and the Nomad is going around. He finds like this robot hand reaching out of this sandy. I guess it's like a red desert. It must be the most irradiated.
Yeah, it's just like a dune wasteland.
Right, and he's walking around. His costume looks fucking amazing. He takes out this robot head. He finds some wires, and he brings it back to this little area that is a chop shop, I guess, for, stuff. I guess you can just buy gear and shit like that. It's run by a little person. I can't think of the guy's name.
He is like such a freaky looking guy, too.
That's the thing. Well, he was born that way, Dave. Thanks. I'm sure...
well, they made him look a lot worse.
I think actually the fat pervert was a lot worse looking.
Oh, but anyway, yeah, Lincoln Weinberg. Oh my god.
So in that area right there, it would be Moses, who's played by Dylan McDermott, and his friend Shades, a guy who never actually takes his shades off, and they're trying to sell some junk to the. I feel bad about calling the guy a little person the whole time. Whatever, the store owner, and the store owner's like, goes out for a second. They run into the Nomad. The Nomad takes his mask off, his goggles off, and he has like these yellow eyes because I guess he's on drugs all the time, and that's how he makes his money. And they buy the robot stuff off of him for like more money than they actually get from the store owner. He decides he wants to give it to his girlfriend Jill, who's a sculptor in the future. I don't know who's buying shit in the future.
Nobody's buying it. That's his gripe with her.
That's what he complains about. If you're an artist in any timeline, you just you suffer for your art because
starving artists will exist in post-apocalyptic future too.
Yeah, exactly. If you see Jill's struggle in this film, that's the struggles that are still going on. So it looks like it never changes.
It's very timely.
Even back then when Leonardo was making sculptures, he did it for payments. That's why a lot of Michelangelo's works are never finished because they just stopped paying him money.
Or they're things that he doesn't personally care about because the Pope made him do it.
Right, yeah, seriously. So if they didn't have enough money for him to do a second statue of David, he was like, "Fuck you, fungool," and he just walked off. That's my Italian. Anyway, so they decide to buy this equipment because it's going to be Christmas time, and Moses wants to buy a gift for Jill. Who is Jill?
Jill is the hot girlfriend of Moses, who is a struggling artist who apparently is locked inside an apartment building, I guess, or something. I was a little confused, honestly. And she has the creepiest neighbor in the world who spies on her and jerks off to her.
Yeah, played by William Hootkins, who plays Lincoln Weinberg Jr., who's... oh
my god, the guy is so gross.
Creepy. Shades, do you think Shades had an affair with Jill, or that was just too implied? Because
Oh, I don't think so. Why did you get that impression?
There was such obvious acting in the part because like I guess Moses was a soldier.
Mm-hmm.
And now he just he lost his arm apparently because he has a robot hand, which is a little thing that they don't really even go into too much. You know what I mean? He just has a robot hand. Yeah, it looks cool. Like he looks great. Dylan McDermott looks great in the film.
How come his hand doesn't try to take over like Evil Dead, except it goes onto the robot?
He only programmed it for jerking off and picking his nose. Apparently, Bill Paxton was supposed to be. They wanted Bill Paxton to play his character.
That would have been cool.
And Jeffrey Combs, who played, the Reanimator, to play Shades.
That I can't see, but I could easily see Bill Paxton.
Yeah, no, the guy who played Shades is great, and Dylan McDermott was good too. But it would be cool to see Bill Paxton. Apparently, Bill Paxton
is just so good.
He's great in everything. But apparently, the UK laws where you can only hire 2 US actors for a UK film. So I guess they're racist in England back then, and they already had Lemmy.
They were still upset about the colonization.
I'm an idiot. Lemmy is English. Maybe it was Iggy Pop was the only other American actor they could use. Maybe Iggy Pop's... I don't know who the fuck's English or American, honestly. You lose.
Well, Iggy Pop is American.
So yeah, with the Stooges. So Shades and him are going up the staircase, and Moses is like, I need you to keep an eye, because Moses always goes out of town to get money, I guess by scavenging. Mm-hmm. Just like the Nomad guy in the beginning of the film, because he can't stay in the army, I guess because of his hand. I don't know what the fuck is going on. They didn't really
the scavengers
say why that was. But he's going up the stairs, and it's like such an awkward framing. But Moses is like, I need you to keep an eye on Jill. And then it cuts to a close up of like Shades, and he goes, I'll always keep an eye on her. And it's like really creepy. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I know the scene you're talking about. I didn't interpret it as. I just interpreted it as bad acting or like bad writing or something.
So like over the top, and then also plus that Jill is doing a sort of a form of yoga or meditation, and he's doing the same meditation later on in the film. So I don't know what their relationship outside of Moses's.
Maybe they cut out the sex scene or something.
Could be. There is an extended sex scene, but it's shot really well. Listen, the movie looks like a cool 80s film. Like, I mean, like, art.
All the design, whoever, like, designed this world and, like, the art design, costume design was, like, fucking awesome.
I believe the director, Richard Stanley, he designed, he was an artist, too, so maybe that's why he had a hand in designing everything. Apparently the robot was supposed to be stop motion, but they didn't have enough money and time for it. I think it would have probably looked cool, stop motion, because...
And he made this when he was super young. Like, he was, like... like 20-something when he made this movie, because he's only 46 now.
Yeah, because the robot is not that cool looking, honestly. I don't think it looks that great. I mean, we do find out the Mark 13 is this robot that is used to...
Population
destroy
control.
People. Yeah, it's a population control to kill humans and stuff. Like, I guess they were testing it out and it just got fucked up in wherever it was in the desert. And they show, the little store owner is looking at the diagram of it, and you actually see that it actually has, I think, 8 arms or something like that. And what I don't understand is that it had 2 arms here, and then it had one hand that attacks the store owner. So I was like, how many fucking hands did it have? Because it looked like it only had like.
Well, it didn't have the equipment to make its arms, maybe just yet.
Okay, so maybe it just made it out of something else. Because I guess so. I guess it just kind of put itself together with other pieces.
Yeah,
but
China needs to get this to update their one birth process. What?
No, another thing that I was thinking is that there's a comic book guy called Eric Larson. He started up Image Comics with like Todd McFarlane and a bunch of others like Jim Valentine and Jim Lee and stuff like that. And he had a comic book. He has a comic book called The Savage Dragon, and I think it was around. This movie took place in 1990, right? Okay. And Savage Dragon in 1992. He has a comic. There's a character called Super Patriot. And I'm like, Super Patriot must have ripped this character off, or Eric Larson must have saw this movie and forgot about it. But it has the exact same mask. If you look it up, it's the mask is an American flag over goggles, and like it's a robot. And I was like, this looks like the same goddamn character.
What's it called? Savage Dragon?
Yes. If you look up the character Super Patriot, you can just see the character by Eric Larson. He looks exactly like this fucking robot. He's basically a guy, but he has the face of the same robot because it's an American flag.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, it definitely was inspired by that.
and she does that, and I don't know. I'm sure maybe there's some sort of meaning behind this, because I assume this takes place in the United States if it's taking place in 2000 AD. Because even though 2000 AD is an English comic book, I was surprised to find out that Judge Dredd was actually taking place in New York City, or the United States, because it's Mega City 1. Because I
didn't know it was New York City. I actually thought it was like Chicago in my brain.
It might be, yeah. I mean, Mega City 1 doesn't really explicitly say. It might say it in the comic books itself, but the fact that they make the killer robot an American, and plus there's this whole idea that they're using population control, so it is an anti-war film in a sense, if you really think about it, because there's little hints of also like RoboCop-esque.
Nuclear war is bad. That's the message.
Yeah, pretty much. But the film also has that overtly RoboCop-esque sort of,
satire, news,
subliminal
shit,
satire, right? Where they have, where she turns on the TV and it's just like people, like violence and shit on television. They use footage from World War II with Nazis killing Jewish people in pits and shit like that.
Yeah, no, I love that kind of like satire, self-aware, making fun of our world shit.
Yeah, and I like actually for some reason I like the part with the dancing reindeer girls, because they said you can buy reindeer meat. I was just like, really, the world building is so damn good and it just looks so good. But I can see why people have issues with the film. What were your issues with the writing in this one? Let's get into the plot itself. What happens?
Well, like, all the cool shit aside, you're like supposed to. They don't really like develop the characters that much or their relationships. So you're supposed to like give a shit about these people being attacked, but it just seems so like abrupt and out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden, Moses is like killing himself or something. And it's like, why? Like,
I had no clue why Moses was cutting his arm.
Because he was upset. He was upset that he thought Jill was dead or something. But it's like, they didn't even develop their relationship.
For some reason, the robot has this venom inside of these teeth, or like they're sort of.
It's like a drug thing, yeah.
They were trying to compare it to this spider that Jill had. Like, Jill had a pet spider or a spider in her apartment, and it was like a loose kind of connection. Spiders bite and drink the blood out of people.
Yeah.
But this robot is built with an injectable poison that can kill somebody. So it just kind of clamps down on you and kills you. And that happens to... Surprisingly, it happens to Moses in the film, and he dies because he's already thought that Jill has died.
And it shows like maggots and shit coming out of his arm. Do you think that it made him kill himself, or was it?
I think that was a hallucination. I think that might have been a hallucination. I'm not sure.
No, that was a hallucination from the drug. But like, did he kill himself because of the drug, or did he kill himself because he was upset about Jill?
I had no idea where he got stabbed. Well, it might be that. I didn't know if he got stabbed in the stomach or something, or in the arm, and maybe he was trying to suck the blood out. You know what I mean? So I wasn't sure what happened. But he had held up his dog tags and he said, I'm proof, I'm whatever, virus proof, whatever the fuck. Because I thought maybe since he was an army guy, they kind of inject you with stuff so you can't get poisoned. So it wasn't really clear. But because I thought that scene was a little bit too bizarre for the film.
Yeah, but it was bizarre because they didn't explain it because the writing wasn't that good. They needed to like develop the story.
The violence in the film was really graphic too. Apparently, they had to cut it down too because the original version was supposed to be like a X rating. You hadn't even known that there was an X rating before the NC-17, which is funny.
Right.
And there's guys getting like the fat pervert who's looking at Jill. I guess he must have some sort of camera that can look through walls. And
he explains it. He installed all the surveillance throughout the building, so he probably...
Oh, okay, because I thought he was looking at it through like a telescope or something, but I realize now that you're saying he's in the...
Yeah, no, he actually does explain that. That does get explained, but like...
Was he in the same... He wasn't in the same building, was he?
Yeah, no, he was. He was like her neighbor, and he was the guy who installed all the surveillance in the building.
She's walking around all naked, and it was actually really well done. Like, the part when she's walking around naked and she's in night vision, sort of...
Yeah,
I mean, it looked cool. Like, the whole movie looks fucking good. I mean, for some reason they even have War on the TV screen, but they're playing a different band's music. And
when they had a Ministry song too, which was pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's what War was playing on screen, but it was Ministry playing the music.
Yeah, they had like Stigmata or something on there.
Imagine War was like, they go to the movie premiere and like, yeah, we're gonna be on film, and then it's like, hey, that's not us anyway. But yeah, they got
the rights to Guar's visual, but not their music, and they got the rights to Ministry's music, but not their visual.
Yeah, it's a real stretch to sort of keep these characters in this apartment, because, like, I was almost hopeful, because once all the chaos started happening in the apartment, I was like, wow, they're really dragging this out, because the robot starts attacking Jill.
Yeah,
And,
and also it's like a tiny apartment. There's a fucking killer robot in there, and he's hiding behind the blinds, not trying to kill her. Why?
If she had to ascend the building, sort of like Dread, the movie, you know, then that'd be cool, because then there's a robot attacking you every floor or something like that. Why? And
also, it's like they kill the robot like 3 times, it keeps coming back, and I get that that's like typical, like Terminator comes out of the fire and shit like that, but like it was too much. It was like too much, you know?
Yeah,
like,
in one apartment, and then like because they blow it out the window and apparently it comes back. But I thought, okay, you know, and there was still like 40 minutes left to the movie when they blow it out of that window.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool. They're going to show the rest of the world. They're going to go outside and you're going to see more of this world. Because I was really, like, I was bummed out that the most, you know, a large portion of the film took place in that apartment. Because it's like, okay, it's an apartment, I get it, but how much?
I don't think they had the budget. They didn't have the budget for more. But they could have made up for that by developing the writing more. You know?
And yeah, it's true, because all that stuff in the beginning, like, when she's talking to when Jill's talking to the security, those 2 guys, that, you know what I mean, that is cool itself. Like, she was talking to that one guy and they're playing some sort of like weird future chess with each other.
Yeah, and I like the leader cop guy, the black dude with the outfit on or whatever. He looked like a, you know, kind of like a police
the
uniform.
Army guy,
yeah.
And apparently his death was supposed to be a lot more graphic, but they didn't have enough money.
But it was so out of nowhere, his death. Like, it was so like unnecessary. Like, it just didn't make sense, you know? I love gore and shit, but it made no sense.
It was a bit to escalate the violence and gore in the film and body count. But that older army guy who had like football padding on his shoulders, he gets chopped in half.
That's the one I'm talking about. The one who got chopped in half by the doors.
I thought you meant the other guy that got shot in the forehead. And
no, that was kind of silly too.
I mean, I enjoyed the film up to that point, and I still think visually it's worth watching this movie. Apparently, he extended the universe for this film, so I guess this was a world that what was it called? It was called it's a 45-minute short film called Incidents in an Expanding Universe, and it's sort of a companion piece to this film. Apparently,
that sounds cool. I would check that out.
I was trying to find it online. It says 2037 rugged soldier Max and weary sculptress, so it's another sculptress, Nikki, try to sustain a relationship in a bleak totalitarian future plagued by war, nuclear fallout, and overpopulation. Flashbacks show Max and Nikki's doomed romance throughout the years as things get worse and the world deteriorates around them.
See, I would be off the planet at this point. Like, the only thing keeping me here is like trees and shit. If they're gone, like, I'm gone.
Yeah, so they were able to talk about space travel and stuff like that. So I think that, I mean, I'm interested in these type of films, especially these type of European science fiction films.
Yeah, this is a movie that suffered from poor budget. That's it, like, and poor writing.
Yeah,
but like, if they had better writing, it would.
I could understand the low rating, but I mean, as an artistic looking film and the way it's done, I mean, it's phenomenal looking movie, and there's so much, you know, little, you know, work. I mean, little details that are put in the work that you're like, wow, you know. Another guy would be like Neil Blomkamp, because the director of this film is a South African guy, and Neil Blomkamp is also a South African guy, and he does world building in his movies. If you've seen Chappie to District 9 and Elysium, you know, if you like that sort of fucked up future world, you can check out those movies too. But they're like pure like action kind of films. But like, I would say District 9 is one of the better films that he's done. You've never seen District 9, right?
I haven't, nah.
I would say check it out. You'd enjoy it. But yeah,
I've heard such mixed things about it, and it's like, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, they sort of are telling the same story 3 times, Neil Blomkamp. But Hardware is worth the watch because it straddles that sort of 90s feeling, or even like late 80s feeling of science fiction. Even if you had like Terminator, you know how that Terminator has a certain look. Terminator 1 has a certain look.
Oh, I love Terminator 1. It's one of my favorite. Yeah, I want to review that for the show. I guess that counts as horror. It does.
Yeah. And just like it's about the same horror as this, I would assume, because the horror only is the gore of a person getting killed, basically.
Well, I mean, Terminator is really scary because it's like this fucking creepy thing just won't shut up and leave me alone. It keeps following her.
Imagine it was just asking her for directions the whole time.
Yeah, it's like that Hitchhiker Stephen King one, but like with Arnold Schwarzenegger as a robot.
But I liked the film. I didn't love it. Obviously, I'm more in love with the look of it than I am with the film itself because it spends all its budget on its opening and the sequence wherein he's walking through town, and just every little thing is just worth the watch of it. If you really like an art style or art direction in a film, I think you'd enjoy this because there's not a lot of sort of dystopian films that come out. You know what I mean? That you can watch and be like, oh, this is great because there's no budget for it, honestly, and people don't. I guess people don't want to feel down about life or something when they watch a movie.
I love it.
I love that stuff. I love that that they're trying to tell a story in these type of worlds. But for this film, I would actually give it a 7 out of 10. Trying to get high on a space future drug and getting bummed out having to save your friend's girlfriend that you have a crush on.
Okay. I'm going to give this I agree with you. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Having your really creepy neighbor who jerks off to you, holding a fire.
He made up most of that dialogue.
What?
He made up most of that dialogue, by the way, but go ahead.
Oh, really? Well, it was good. Holding a fire torch and standing like 3 feet away from you, and suddenly you can't see them for some reason.
She almost burnt that actor's face. You can see that sequence. She's like, because the part when he has the flamethrower next to his face.
Oh yeah, and they're like face to face. Yeah.
Yeah. But what about the soundtrack? Soundtrack was good, right?
Soundtrack was good. I mean, they had a Ministry song in there. That's great.
There's a great song at the end. I think it's performed by Public Image Limited, and it's a great song. It's like, this is what you want, this is what you get. But it's all that sort of industrial rock music from early 80s. Early 80s, early 90s stuff that you can check out. But it's great soundtrack. Good looking film. It jerks off too much and ejaculates and causes its plot to not go any further, and the budget destroys it. But I would recommend just watching it just for the art direction because it's worth watching and checking out. Trying to find as many possible films that are in this genre and having a good time. So with that, Danny, what's the final word?
England.